13 might be unlucky for some, but for this Italian company, 13 might just be the magic number. This is brand new Ekar group set, a 1x13 gravel bike group set. And in this video, I'll give you my final review after several months of riding this through my local Cotswold mud. I go through pros and cons and how it compares to key rivals Shimano and SRAM, and whether they've done enough to tempt you from those more popular choices in the market. This video is sponsored by Deckshell, a maker of a wide range of waterproof socks, gloves, hats and other accessories to keep you warm and dry through the winter months. So check out their website down below. Okay, let's dive in. One by is one of the biggest trends in the cycling industry, carried over from mountain biking to road and gravel cycling. That's done more than most to transform how these bikes look and open up their uses to many more people. There's lots of like, but also lots of dislike. In the pros column, there's reduced weight and increased simplicity, but in the negative column, there's reduced range and bigger steps between the sprockets because you're putting all the range onto a cassette by getting rid of the front mech and the two chainrings you normally have on a drop bar bike. But by going straight to 13 speed, one more than SRAM and two more than Shimano, and designing from the outset a group set that perfectly meets the requirements and needs of gravel cycling right now, I think Campag has played a blinder and really done a lot to smooth their compromises and give us all the benefits and fewer of the drawbacks. If you missed my previous video on the Ekar group set in detail, linked above if you missed it, a quick recap on what we have here. So it's a 1x13 group set with mechanical gear changes and hydraulic disc brakes. And there's a choice of 3 cassettes. This is a 942, so starting with a tiny 9-tooth sprocket, smaller than the SRAM's 10-tooth and Shimano's 11-tooth, and different chainring options, but this, the 38, is the smallest they currently offer. So it offers a fairly wide range, and I found in my local riding here, with quite a few punchy climbs, the range is more than adequate most of the time. There are a few occasions when on very steep climbs, the lowest gear isn't quite low enough, and I can definitely see for bike packing when you're going long distance adventuring in the mountains perhaps, the lowest gear might not be low enough. So here I'd like to see an even lower gear option, maybe a bigger 44 sprocket on the back, or just smaller chain rings on the front, just give you a little lower range if you need it. But most of the time, as I said, it's pretty good. When you're in that tiny 9-tooth sprocket, you can really motor it along. It's a really high gear actually, and on flat roads or fast fire roads, you can really push along at a decent speed. And on descent, you can easily get to speed where you're better off going into an aero tuck than trying to pedal faster and faster. A really nice design feature of this cassette is the first 6 sprockets off a 1-tooth increment. That addresses many of the issues that people have by maintaining the perfect cadence at higher speeds, say even a group ride or you're riding with a friend, and you need one gear either side of when you're in, rather than a big jump you sometimes get. So that tightly spaced 6 sprocket cluster at the bottom end gives you that high speed kind of cadence, smoothness you often want in that situation. When you get up towards the easier gears, the steps are bigger, but in my experience, when you're riding off-road on steep climbs, the gaps aren't the issue they might be on the road at high speeds. You find a gear that suits your fitness level, energy level, or the steepness, the gradient of the climb, and you find a gear that allows you to spin at a comfortable cadence. So most of the time, the steps on that end of the cassette are just fine. When it comes to actually changing gear, it's nice and easy for the most part, but there are a few drawbacks. And I know younger viewers especially, weaned on Shimano, will find this system, this configuration a little alien. So you have a thumb shifter up top and a paddle behind the lever. And it is fairly easy to use. If you're not used to it, it doesn't take long to get used to it. And if you're used to Campag, it will feel just like you're used to, although the thumb shifter is a different shape and much more accessible from the drops and the hoods than the previous design. So shifting for the most part is easy. The thumb shifter especially is easy to use. Hit that, go down to a harder gear, no problem at all. But shifting up to an easier gear when you're approaching a climb, it's a little trickier and required a bit of practice on my part. So the lever behind the paddle has quite a long lever throw and not the most precise click when you get to the change. And I found it took me quite a bit of practice and it's definitely a bit of a knack to getting smooth, perfect shift every time. And in that respect, I don't think it's quite as easy to use as Shimano or SRAM, where they have a a more definite, easier shift. And certainly not as easy as EPS or DIT or ETAP, where you just press a button and does it for you. So that is the only downside. I've had more missed shifts with this bike than any other bike this year. It might just be because I'm not as used to Campag as I am Shimano and SRAM, because lots more test bikes have those group sets than Campag. Very rare on bikes these days, unfortunately. So that's the only issue with the shifting layout on the system. In terms of ergonomics, I love the shape of the hoods. Nice tall shape, nice and curved as well, like the lever shape, and a nice tactile material. So in the hands, these feel great and are much nicer than GRX, which is a little bit too ribbed for my liking. That sounds awful, but you know what I mean, hopefully. And nicer than SRAM's more kind of blocky shape hoods. The braking performance is a real highlight of the group set and definitely worth talking about. I think the lever feel is probably my favourite of the three big group set manufacturers. It's a really nice, smooth lever feel, and I can't think of a better way to describe it as being squeezy when you get to the bite point. So it's not an on-off switch sort of feeling that some brakes can have. It's nice kind of progressive feel, really builds up nicely as you get to the bite point and allows you to feather in the power as you need in different situations where it's slippery. And the lever blade is a lovely shape as well, nice and easy to reach from the drops and the hoods. They're quite narrow compared to Shimano and SRAM perhaps, so if you've got big hands you might find them a little bit narrow, but for my small hands they feel just fine. So the brakes are really good, and also no noise, no squealing, no grinding. The pad life is still good. I've not had it long enough to really test the pad life, I admit. The brakes on their own aren't enough reason to buy the group set, but definitely a highlight. And when you add that to the rest of the package, definitely helps the group set to stand out compared to the rivals in this space. Let's talk about reliability and durability. And I've had quite a few questions about the first actually, which have been interesting. Now I've had the bike for a few months, and in that time the group set has been absolutely fine, rock solid, no issues at all. So I know that isn't the longest term review, but the bike's going back next week, so that's all I can offer at the moment. But in the few months I've had it, and quite a lot of riding through quite muddy trails at the moment, the group set has been solid, been flawless, and it really copes with mud exceptionally well. It doesn't have a feeling of being delicate or finicky when it's covered in mud and caked in leaves. It just works reliably all the time, and it shifts under load, under duress when it's caked in mud and water exceptionally well. So I've been really impressed with how the group set has performed in my quite challenging conditions. I thought it might be a bit more delicate, but it hasn't been the case at all. It's just been absolutely fine. So brakes have been fine, the gears have been fine. I've not had to touch it at all. I mean, I wash it after every ride, lube the chain, but it's not required any maintenance on my part. I've not had to adjust the gears, indexing, that's all been absolutely fine. So it's been a very nice experience. And hopefully that nice experience will continue for another 3 months, 6 months, 9 months if you bought and own the group set. But yeah, a little question mark over real long-term durability and reliability. But for now, no problem at all. You might already have seen my little comparison video with Ekar versus SRAM's Eagle Red combination, linked above if you missed that. Now, it's a clearly much cheaper group set than SRAM's mullet setup, as they call it, and doesn't quite offer the same range, but it's half the price. But they're comparing mechanical to electronic, so not quite fair. So they were the first to bring their mountain bike technology to the road bike market, first with Force CX1 for the cyclocross market, and then just Force 1 and Rival 1 for the gravel bike market. Both mechanical, hydraulic disc brakes, and both 11-speed. And that's probably 4 years ago or thereabouts, and been really, really popular. I've ridden loads of bikes with that group set on. But here's the interesting thing. You can still buy it on retailers, and it's still available on the SRAM website with prices and so on. But they don't seem to really push it or promote it as much as they used to. And that makes sense because they have their new ETAP group set. But it's odd because they didn't really offer a direct rival for their own 1x Rival and Force group sets. They have a Force ETAP 1x12 setup, but you're not getting a big generous cassette like a 1042 you get on that Force Rival 1x group set. You only get up to a 1036, their new Y cassette. So it's not clearly as wide range as it needs to be. And then Shimano. So Shimano launched a GRX group set last year, and this year it has been really popular. And the reason it's so popular is because, well, Shimano massively dominant, very competitive in price, but also they're offering a wide range of options. They've got 2x, one by, lots of cassettes which are ported over from their mountain bike and road bike cassette. And it is a good group set generally, and for most people it's probably more than enough. But I've ridden it on different bikes, and in the one by configuration, I don't think it's fully there yet as a one by gravel bike group set. Doesn't quite meet the demand or smooth out those compromises in the way that Ekar's 13-speed group set does. So Shimano clearly done a really good job with GRX, but I don't think they've really gone far enough. I don't think there's enough ambition in that group set. I think there's potential to bring their 12-speed mountain bike technology to the road bike space, but I don't think they've been as ambitious as Campag in designing from the outset a group set that meets all requirements of a gravel cyclist. So they have sat on the fence a little bit. But that's just my opinion, you may disagree, and that's fine. When it comes to price, well, things don't look so good for Campag. It's about £1,400, £1,500 euros for a complete group set, which is more than most other mechanical group sets from Shimano and SRAM. So on that front, it doesn't look so good. So clearly, Campag needs to be much more competitive on price to get this group set onto bikes and into consumers' hands going forward. And I think they can easily bring out a lower tier, a more affordable group set, get rid of some of the carbon fibre, some different materials, and bring out a cheaper version. And hopefully they can work with bike brands and offer them good discounts to get the group set onto new bikes, because buying a complete bike is always cheaper than buying a group set on its own and building a bike yourself. So hopefully we can see the group set appearing on bikes in 2021 and offer a viable alternative to Shimano and SRAM spec bikes, which there are a lot of. So the price is an issue, but Campag is a small company. They don't have the might of Shimano or SRAM when it comes to really that kind of scaling up and getting the prices down. But for now, it's definitely kind of a premium price point for a mechanical group set. The Italian company might be late to the one by market by quite a few years, that has to be said, but they clearly use that time wisely to deliver a deeply impressive one by group set. By going to 13, this might be the best one by group set you can currently buy, and definitely offers many advantages over rivals like Shimano and SRAM. But it's not without its flaws. It's pricey, it's a little clunky, and not everybody, especially those weaned on Shimano, will like the shifting. But if you can live with those things, this is a very good group set that reduces the inherent flaws in a one by group set, namely range and the cadence steps. But the big question remains, is this group set good enough to tempt people away from Shimano and SRAM when they're buying a new gravel bike? Well, not really a question I can answer, but hopefully you can let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this group set and whether it's something you might consider if you're in the market for a new gravel bike. So that'd be my review. Got any questions, put them down below, but hopefully you enjoyed this little review of Campag's brand new Ekar group set. I've had a great time riding it and I will miss it. It really thoroughly impressed me, and it's definitely my pick of the one by group sets available right now. Anyway, that's all from me. Make sure you keep liking, subscribing, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you all again next time. Thank you so much for watching.